Hey guys, it is February 1st already. Wow. Time just flies. I did have a 6-year anniversary on December 13th of last year, and actually I did do a video. I squeezed one in, but I never had the time to upload it. So I'm not even going to upload that. It's old news. We'll talk about current reflections that I have. And I'm sorry, we have a 7-month-old pup my wife rescued. He actually walked right into our classroom and she said, "Come and get him." So you might hear them in the background playing. But anyway, yeah, 6 years on testosterone. And what a ride, I've been reflecting back the last week, knowing I was going to do a video, just waiting for the time. And how I've matured, how I have kind of done a 360 in some of the feelings I had about things, or my views. Definitely, I've talked about in a lot of my videos of the difference in testosterone and estrogen for me. I was a nurturer, number one, and number two, I was a very good multitasker. Um, and I still can nurture, but I've put limitations on that just because of society, because of how a nice gesture towards a child may be interpreted different now from a stranger. And so I'm really careful about acknowledging kids in public. I love children. I like their laughter, and just hearing them talk to their parents and the way they come up with things in their head. And I will zone into that. And so I watch myself. I might hear them, but I don't look their way. I may smile, but I don't smile at the child. And I'm not saying it's wrong, but I've just come to a point where I don't want to draw any attention on me as it is. I understand why parents are the way they are. I mean, my mom always says, "Oh, the world's getting worse." I said, "No, it's not necessarily that the world's getting worse. It's just that we're getting more populated, and we have social media now, and they share things that they didn't used to share. They kept us pretty much in a closet growing up in the era that I did. I mean, you never know things were going on. I remember my elementary school years. They showed a film to us, and it was showing how this guy would go to the school and wait and say he was someone's uncle, and he would pick him up and take him away, and it would show the girl screaming out the window and stuff. And so I mean, that's how we were taught about strangers. And now people are finding out their own family. You just can't trust your own family with your children. There are some cultures that is a higher percentage of molestation and sexual abuse in some ethnic groups than I see in others. But you know what? The bottom line is, whether it's one or two, there should never be none. And unfortunately, that's something that that's going on. But anyway, so changing of. I look back on the 6 years and I think, wow, in the beginning, things just weren't moving fast enough for me. I had to fight with my endo. It shows in all the other videos my timeline and what I faced at each time, and it will also show you how I've changed my way of thinking on some things. Uh, I'm learning at this age, and this age right now that I'm at is actually a grandparent's age, and my grandchildren could actually be young adults. It's just like wow. Um, but anyway, or at least teens or something like that. But anyway, around that age. But it's I'm I'm just amazed at the difference in the hormones, but I'm amazed in how things feel so comfortable for me. How I mean, once I could see myself in the mirror and see that man that I've always looked through my eyes to be, um, I just have settled in, you know. Sure, I was upset in the beginning if the pronouns weren't correct or I got misgendered or, you know, and I look back at my videos and think, okay, well, I looked like a dyke for a long time. And a lot of people don't like that word. I don't either. But that's just described me how I looked. A soft, oh, a butch. I'm sorry. My wife said, you looked like a soft butch. But, you know, I always wore my hair short and cropped because my job security, I didn't want my hair to be used as a tool against me. So I always kept it short. Plus, I loved it. It was closer to that male image. But I definitely didn't look male back in that time. But I was pretty strong. But I found that even that with the testosterone, that my muscles were twice as strong. And it just amazed me how I've just come into my own in the last 6 years. One thing about following someone on YouTube, you see where they were, you hear what they say, you see where they're going, you see where they've been, and you see how sometimes they do 360 in their views and stuff. I remember I swore I didn't need the bottom surgery in the beginning, but that was something I was saying so that my wife wouldn't feel bad because at that time we would have had to pay for it. The minute Kaiser took on and it cleared it, I was on board. And I just told her, I said, you know, this is something and I didn't really know I would need it until I had my top surgery. Then I knew I needed to pack. And then, you know, after packing a while, I knew, wow, you know, I'd really love to just not pack anymore and have my junk. But anyway, everything follows a process. Everything, as long as you're moving forward, as long as you're looking in the mirror and loving that person, that's the most important part. You can look back on your videos and say, man, I can't believe I thought that way, or wow, how far I've come. Because, you know, I think in the beginning, especially trans guys, we are so used to wanting to be accepted so bad that we are almost like we do things and tell others to justify our actions. And then when some of them, and including myself, when we do realize what's going on, gender identity, transgender, learn that there's labels and stuff, then you're almost like, okay, well, I want to do this, but we'll go baby steps just so we please everybody else. Uh, you know, I used to tell everybody, you know, I understand it's going to take you a while. It's okay if you say she or you call me my old name. But, you know, that didn't last long because as I transitioned, the more I changed, the more I wanted to be acknowledged as that change. Um, and actually, my family did pretty good. My mom, for a while, when I would go around her a lot, she would jump back into, you know, the old person. But lately, she hasn't done that. So it's just amazing. 6 years, you know. How I feel now, I feel like a grandparent. I mean, I'm not a grandparent, but I feel at that age where I've had my kids, you know, they're having their kids. I'm enjoying my family. My knowledge and my experience and my skills are based on what I've done in my life. And for example, I think I talked about this too, where I went and taught and helped my niece and nephew-in-law to take out their old sprinkler system and put in a whole new sprinkler system with the valves and all. What it entailed, what you look at, what kind of sprinklers would fit best for your yard. And when I went over there, they both were digging the trench already because I told them you need to expose those pipes or the PVC. And I said, I can't really help you dig a lot unless it gets to a point where I can use just upper body. And so they were gun ho, but you know, I didn't feel like I needed to show how much I knew to prove I can do this job. I made the suggestions and I let him basically do all the work. There was a couple things he went ahead of himself and I wouldn't have done it that way, but I just told him what could happen, the repercussion from doing it that way, and he made a choice that he didn't want to change it. He was too lazy actually to redo it. I said, okay, but if something happens, you know, this is what's causing it. And so it was like, I told my wife, I said, I just feel so like it's just natural. I mean, it just And it made me feel good that my niece asked me, because, I've always offered that to her. I knew those sprinklers were going to need overhauling, but it was nice to work with them and not have that feeling like I need to prove anything, that I knew things. We made 3 and 4 trips to Home Depot, and I told them, I said, every project, major project like this, be prepared to make these trips, because when you think you got it all, you got the wrong piece, or you need more of one piece than you did the other, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, that's where I am in 6 years. I am constantly reevaluating my viewpoints, how I am as a person. And I will constantly do that, because that's the number one thing that's always been important to me, is to make sure I'm a well-rounded person, especially in the adversities I've had to overcome in my life, because I was born female, and because my sexual orientation was actually heterosexual, but to society it was homosexual. And dealing with the religion and how I was taught and how my family thinks. And, I'm very thankful that my parents were the black sheep of the family and didn't force it on us kids. But my dad's family was a very big influence on us. So regardless if we were free not to have to do things that way, we heard about it in the background. Um, but to, always every day to look myself in the mirror and say, okay, this is something we need to work on, Ethan. This is something that is really bothering you. This is something that you haven't been able to let go. For example, I have a real hard time with members of my family who are very self-centered. I'm not. I've never been self-centered, and I've been used in my past because of that, overly passionate and giving. But people, the members of my family who are really self-centered and still have no oomph to even change that, no matter what has been said to them, no matter how things look to them. Uh, and unfortunately, it's their pathway, and they may not learn it in this life. But I have to try to let that go, try to not get angry and frustrated when I see these things happening. Uh, when they affect people in my family, I'm trying to make sure I understand that I am not going to go in and protect them. I don't need to. I used to be that way growing up. That was my role. I was the oldest out of 5. My parents would fight. Kids would come into me, da 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 da, and that was my role for a long time, even in through my young adulthood. My youngest sister and I, well, she always looked up to me to do things for her when her husband wouldn't do them. I was her to-go person all her life. Things have changed there because now her kids are grown and they're to go. And so I'm kind of like not needed like I was, and I'm having to learn to accept this new role along with transitioning into that male, but to accept and to understand that it's not because I'm not needed anymore. It's just I'm not needed in the way I used to be needed anymore. And so, I work hard every day. I think of things that I'm imperfect at, things I could have handled better, things that no one even knows how I feel and I should let go, because I'm not going to cause commotion or drama in my family. So that's what that's where I'm transitioning all the way around. And as I get older, I just want to get better. Uh, I am definitely happy in my life. I tend to think back how it would have been if I was born male, and sometimes I think things happen for a reason. Yes, they've proven now that we get our wires crossed in the, I don't know what part of the pregnancy we do, but uh, they have proven that. It's basically where the brain says, go make the genitals, and the genitals send the signal up that, hey, I'm a boy, and it gets crossed, and that's what happens with us. So I thought that sounded, I mean, that just makes perfect sense. Genetically, the sexual orientation is a genetic thing. The gender identity is a it's a wired thing, and I'm okay with it because although I didn't get to start out life as Ethan, I got taught a lot of things, and I might have turned out a little bit different. I once told a friend of mine, a coworker, when I came out to him, I told him how I felt, and he told me, he says, no, he goes, even if you were born male, I don't think you would have turned in to your dad or anything because of your spirit. And that put a lot of weight in my heart. It made me realize how people see me and perceive me. And I don't want to change that. And so I keep treading as much as I can. I keep, the changes there's subtle changes now. As you can see, my beard is pretty much probably how it's always going to ever be. Um, my hair, it's still thinning out, but I'm learning more about that. I'm going to start taking some trace minerals and stuff like that and just kind of supplement my depletions in my body. Everyone has reasons why their bodies do what they do, and it's the responsibility of us as individuals to figure out why our bodies are the way they are, and what could we do to change that to make it into a positive. So this week, honestly, it's the first week I have felt that I have a clear head, that I'm calm and I'm not rushed, because I told you I had a long battle with my stepdad and his medical issues, and I was the to-go person. I took him everywhere. I did his bandages. I did his IV antibiotics. I mean, I was there 5 days a week, and sometimes had to go on the weekend over there. So it was a very exhausting, and I am just now recuperating from that. He passed away in May, so that's how hard it had been on me. My injury, I'm looking at maybe another surgery to upgrade my stimulator to block the pain from my feet to my brain. Um, but that in itself sounds good, but I broke my foot on it, not knowing I broke my foot. So there's cautions there. So a lot of things are happening, but I'm finally able to put some time aside for myself every day while still feeling like I'm getting things done at the house. I'm making sure dinner's done. I'm feeding us nutritionally again. I'm getting us balanced back. Tony's been through her own issues. She has broke her foot again, and she is in the boot for another 3 weeks. It's just she finally was going back to the gym, and she ran twice on the treadmill and broke it. It's in the same general area. It's not as bad, but it has really depleted her emotionally. She just cried and cried. She's had 2.5 years since the cancer. Actually, April it'll be 3 years, and she's had 6 surgeries, and it's just been and a broke foot twice, and it's just been horrendous on her. So we're dealing with that too, but we're balancing out. We're getting things back to the way things should be between or with us, and we are a very good support system for each other. I thank God every day that Tony loves me and unconditionally loves me. But anyway, gosh darn, almost 20 minutes. I am so sorry. But, just reflect on your life. Think about the things and enjoy the ride, as it comes. If you are the kind of person that is a pessimist, you can't see that the glass is half full, or you can't make positive things out of not so good things, why don't you try every day just to do one thing positive? Or if something is not positive in your life, look at it as, I don't know why this has happened. Either I have control to change it, and if I don't have control to change it, then this is how I'm going to react to it now. Just like I am about the manipulators and the users in my family. So, okay, guys, take it one day at a time, and always make your journey as simple as possible. And I'll talk to you later. Bye.